All right. So today we changed a little bit of how the bird looks before the stream because I wanted to change. I remember wanting to change his entering his sit because he was a little bit too fat, but I liked how fat he was. He sat down. We're gonna fix that. We're gonna update the run sheet with the run again. We're gonna redo the tail whack. Let's get started with that. Let's see. Okay. So Okay, so he's got a little whack with his tail while he's running. That's all we wanted to fix there. Then here's gonna have eyes. Scratch. He's bigger. He loop down. Yeah, there we go. And then wagging. Way. Way. Oop. Uh, God, I wish I could come up with a name. Right now, I'm just calling him an oily bird. He's a he's a boss in the game, and he's going to God, he's just gonna be. He's one of the. He's a classic area denial boss sort of. So we're gonna make him leave spots on the ground that prevent the player from, or try to keep them away from that area. So everywhere he walks, he's gonna leave a little splotch of oil or something. I don't have a name for him yet. If you want to try naming him, I'm totally fine with that. But I'm trying to give him a little butt wiggle when he sits down, but I think there's not enough frames here. Whoop, whoop. The timing's good. He, We have the intersit, and now we need the exit to be about the same. So we might be able to just reuse one of these frames. So 60. Let's see. Draw his already kind of at an angle. I think we could just have his face go straight immediately and be fine there. So real rough. Have him sort of look a little bit more down, up. Yeah, there we go. Starting to look good. So we wanted to only get like a rough today. I wasn't going to clean it up until tomorrow. So I'm trying to fix up all the stuff that I did yesterday just a little bit. Because, like, this is clean enough. This head jump is fine. This puddle expand is going to be... This is going to have to be done later. The minion launch... So, in our game, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, typically 7 frames for each launch animation. Player hits an enemy, we only do about 7 frames. And we'll like calculate based on a percentage of like where they are in their launch frame, etc. Otherwise, this would be a lot more fun. Here's a sit idle. We need an extra. We need another sit idle for a damage threshold. I think we need 2 more. We need 2 exits from. Let me clean up. You hear the mighty? Ask. Suck at name. If you asked me to name him, it would be like John Birdman or something stupid, you know. Hey, let me markers so they're easier. You can tell when I name a character in the game because I'll name them based off their profession pretty much 90% of the time. Like Old Willie. He's Old Willie because he's old. Pirate Poe. Haley will name actually give good name. Right? That's the yeah, this is the front foot. So this needs to okay. This is the thing about this is I need to duplicate this because going up and it needs to do a little follow. Follow that. Might be too much. We have 73 here. That can go. Looks like that. Yeah, that's fine. Now the next few frames look like that line isn't the top one and the bottom. Let me rename all these. Now I need a new sit idle. It should be easy. So we're going to have that, and then we're going to have it inflate into it. So let me do this. Make one new animation. Have two different versions of it. Sits in an area. The player does some threshold amount of damage, and then he inflates a little bit more, and then he inflates a little bit more, and then he pops like he does in his. So he'll be like this. Loop, pop, and then his head goes flying, and it's only his head bouncing around. Of an insane boss. Right down Hugo the Mighty. I can go away now. So now I'm going to sort of expand. So just like in the last expand, have him inflate pretty heavily in the beginning, and then when the surface area gets big enough, we slow it down like a lot. He also needs to inflate more around his like head, over the head. I think his eyeball feathers. Got that. Make his eyeballs because there's so much pressure. All needs to out a little bit bigger. First expansion loads. Got to idle in this. What is this? 15 frames, 19, 20 frames. For that, it'll be 17. Oh, you know what? These are all on threes, and this one's on a four. What is that? 18 frames. 15. That's a fair amount of time. The player can punch a certain amount. We do need the last expansion to be take a little bit of time because we need to give the player enough time to get away before he pops. So, oh man, what do we want to do? I mean, I could give him some shake. I could give him a lot of shake and like a lot of vibrating. I was thinking of having him like a balloon, sort of wave around a little bit and bounce around a bit. Sort of like he's just gonna wiggle around and a little bit, too much, then pop before his head goes flying into the air. I know this is a very silly boss, but it's a silly game, so. Uh, Now he just needs to idle here. So that's pretty easy. So let me do this. Let me change this to oh whoops. Did that on the wrong. So it's a little bit more like, he's facing maybe this way a little bit. Not a ton. Not really facing. That's a little bit too much. Facing more this way. A little bit to the left. Then we'll give him, split this clip here. What is that, 18 frames? Then from here we can have, so we're going to do a very basic idle that we do for everybody. It's just a up and down motion. We're at 24 frames a second, so 18 or 42. Way there from 31. Now his head is exactly the same, except it goes down into feathers and then pushes him up. So all that pressure just his feathers out a little. Down. This comes out just a little bit. You need to draw his tail. I totally forgot to draw his freaking tail. It needs to be like it's got to have like a little bit of a too sharp. Ooh, that's too much. Let me see. Let me test this out. Good idle. Let's see. Frame per second. 24 frames per second. So 12 frames. 1, 2, 4, 5. 12. That up. Yeah, there we go. Better. But that's still too much. I still feel like he needs to just a tiny bit that he goes in. Tiny bit. So it also be that we're losing that information there, that it looks a little bit different. So and we're also losing. Nope. 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 Okay. All right. So there's his first, like, he enters, he expands, and then he idles a little bit. We'll copy and paste this idle animation so that way it can, like, oh, wait. Damn it. Don't expand. He just, whoop. Well, you don't get to see the idle loop. Y'all saw it a second ago. Paste this here. And the player can do more damage. So now he has another one where he gets even bigger. And that one's going to be hard to do. That one needs to be very We don't have a lot of space to work with. So where did we end on this one? Ended on 58F. Or now it's 64 because I read 4 from here. Uh, to going to expand a little bit more, and we need them to be the same amount of frames. Idle 1. So only 5 frames. That's not a lot. This is pretty easy to do. So we're just going to go over a little bit. He'll expand pretty heavily for being already at the surface level, I think. Surface area level. But not on. And we don't have a lot of work with. We needed to expand pretty evenly at each sort of angle. Otherwise, it looks kind of weird. Notice that when I was animating it yesterday, that it would look weird if I didn't increase at each area at a constant rate. By by I look like I'm not doing anything as soon as the animation plays. Get just pixels off. Last frame. Yeah, you see how like he's expanding outwards. I didn't do a lot this way, so it looks a little weird. Only expanding upwards. I need to fix that. Yeah, you see this is stretching, but the rest of it isn't. This side seems fine, but I'm not. Hmm. Hold on, this side. Right here is about where it starts to be a little bit off. Fix that. There we go. One thing, I think I'm accidentally expanding like his floor. That can be fixed when we do cleanup. Once I start doing the actual line art, I can make sure that I'm always on the floor. Now this expansion looks fine for the most part. Then he goes into his idle from here. So what is that? Oh, frames are off by a little bit. 3, 4, 5, 18. Here he's going to have the same idle. Have one more expansion, and then he's going to pop. And from there, his head should fly off, and it should start chasing the player around. The goal for the player at this point, we're trying to incentivize them to try to get some air combos and try to hurt this enemy as much as they possibly can. So, I'm scared that the design of this boss isn't really leaning into that at all. We'll see. Because I'm spending a lot of time on the boss and might have to redesign them, which sucks. Whatever. Okay, so we're basically going to do the same thing that we did here. P64, so we can have a reference eyes, because it's always going to be in the same spot. It's just going to be pushed in by his feathers. Like, at this point, be getting up. Okay. And then we can give him the same, like, sort of treatment here. What's the frame on 30? Oh, that's 64. Don't mess with that. Delete. Where sort of goes in just a tiny bit. Tiny bit. Whatever. We'll see. And then this comes out also. Bands. Idle look. And we're losing this information. Yeah. And with that, it looks better. So now, it'd also be nice to have some feathers coming out, but I can add that during the cleanup. Oh man. Now he's gonna have one more of these. That should be it. Now, I'm debating whether or not we want to put him on a timer there, or just leave him in this phase until the player does enough damage for him. Because if we do that, I can avoid having to do enters and exits for each one of these expands. But it's less fun, I feel like. I feel like it might be annoying, honestly, if I make this character like I have a tendency of making enemies way too hard. I'm gonna see what he's like without it, and then I'll consider adding those animations later. So we'll have him get fatter, and this is gonna be the pop. So this pop might need more work as oh, I like that one. It doesn't need to be at this angle. It needs to be coming out. But the puddle at the end works well. So I'm going to split that. I'm going to use this. Oops. Pop. Going to happen at the end. Oh, well, this one needs to be a lot more frames. So he has to have, there needs to be something that, it has to be like at least a second and a half. Or something that we can delay. We can always do something in game and like shake him around if it's not too long. I might end up doing that because we need enough time for the player to be like, oh, I need to run away now. Uh-oh, you know? So that's fun, but I don't know what I'm going to do there. See. We have his set idle expand. Regular idle. What else do we need? We do his minion stuff. Got his head launch and jump. Could easily reuse that, and that's the plan, to do that in game. Let's do his. Let's do his explosion. Where are we? So we're at this point. Before F, the frame. With this, so that's where the explosion is. So right now it's not going to look like much. Pop. So he needs to vibrate a bit. He needs to bend him even tinier. But the player to know they need to run away. Might frame, like shake him. Sure. What we could do is we could have his feathers expand and his head come out almost cartoon-like. Give him like a lot of squash and stretch, and then jump back down into his feathers, expand, and then explode. That could give a lot of life to it and a little bit of time for the player to be like, oh shit, he's doing something. Gotta run. Right? So if we sink his head in, even further, do like a squash and stretch thing. Head. We don't have a lot of space to do that. Test this out really quick. Do like a really back down. Shoots back down and head. I mean, I like the idea. He needs to shake just a little bit here. We can just do this really quick. Have a new layer. Shake between those two. He needs to be it or what? I feel like I've already expanded it past the point that we're allowed to use. It's gonna be a huge boss texture. then so he goes up, and then he needs to shake a little bit. So let's put him back on one more layer 7. And let's rename these that way. Yeah, so like we could add some in-game shake to that. I'm liking the he jumps up, he flaps his wings for a second. Up here. Otherwise, you don't really get to see his wings. And you're not gonna know what like. So right now, off the rough, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that can see this stuff. He's gonna be mostly black. So his inside's gonna be mostly black, and you're not ever really gonna see his wings. Um, and then from here, he pops. Okay. I feel like this is enough time. He needs to sit on that frame a little bit longer. Do this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I like that. A lot of squash and stretch, and it's a lot of fun, but I'm not sure if it's enough time for player to escape. We can always do stuff in game and change it, but really neat actually. And I can do the cleanup tomorrow. Cleanup's going to involve a lot of stuff though. Okay. Because I'm not feeling well, I think that's going to have to do it for today. I can finish the cleanup tomorrow. I'm feeling better. I'm not sure we need any more animations. I think we just need his eggs and the minion stuff. And then launch and jump are basically the same for his head. Head is going to do this. Okay. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else I need to do. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I'm not feeling well today. So, thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate it. We'll have a longer stream tomorrow, and I'll finish all of these animations. See y'all.